Hello everyone, tonight I'm going to show you how to take a pattern off a pair of children's leggings so you can make numerous pairs, one pair after the other. Now this is a high street pair of leggings and these are sizes 8 to 24 months. And what they don't have is a seam in the side of the leg, so which makes them very easy to copy off with very little sewing to do as well. So the first thing to do is fold the leggings in half. Take a piece of paper and fold your paper in half. Pop the leggings onto the fold of the paper, secure them with either pins or I have these larger clips. So I'm just going to pop a clip into the sides. So what you've got is your leggings onto your paper. And take a pencil and draw around the exact edge of the trouser. Short pencil lines, and then we can always join them up later. Trying to keep a nice curve for the body part of the legging. And a nice tapered line with short pencil strokes down the outside leg, the inside leg. And draw across the bottom. So that's the first little bit of tracing done to start and copy the pattern from. Remove your clips. Now take a look inside the leggings and measure the depth of the hem that was allowed on the leggings itself. So this depth of hem was 2 centimetres. So take your tape measure and put the 2 centimetre mark on the hem and draw along the metal edge of the tape measure 2 centimetres all the way along. You can actually join it up with a set square or a ruler. I personally love a set square, it's one of my favourite tools. And those of you that go to sewing group will know that. So that's the lining along the top, along the bottom. Now look at the band that's turned over on the top of the leggings as well. Now that's showing 3 centimetres. Now the elastic I have is slightly wider than the elastic that's in these leggings, so we're going to have to add a little bit more. So what I want to add to cover the elastic, so if you pop your elastic, if you've got some, over the top, I'm going to add another centimetre, so I'm going to make mine 3.5 to be sure I get a nice covering, so I can get the stitches in. So it's 3.5 centimetres that I'm going to add on at the top of these trousers. So again, put your tape measure to 3.5 and draw along the metal edge. Now on any dressmaking pattern, the seam allowance is 1.5 centimetres. So whether or not you sew these on an overlocker or a normal sewing machine, what I'm going to allow is 1.5 centimetres on the rest of the trousers. Now you can use your tape measure and set your mark to 1.5 and draw along this metal edge. Or I've got a nice handy little tool that my husband made for me. We're thinking about putting these in the shop, and this gives you from the top of there to the beak 1.5 centimetres, so it's ideal for marking when you're putting a seam allowance onto anything. So I'm just going to use this because it is a lot easier than the tape measure, because it's set exactly at 1.5. So these little chicken sticks might become popular, who knows. Okay, so I've got sufficient lines in there now to actually join up and make my paper pattern from. So I'm just going to join that to the hem and continue to join each dashed line to the one that we've just drawn. So just extend that line there on the curve of the body and bring that leg curve up to match it. And just a nice curve, just short pencil lines will give you that nice curve. So once you get to the top, you can straighten that off, running straight up to the top of the band. And then my set square again on the edge of the paper. So it runs along the edge of the paper and nicely along the top of the band. Now this is your paper pattern, and now that's for both back and front legs. And the size of mine is 12 to 18 months, so I want to put on 12 to 18 months. Now what we don't have on here, what commercial patterns have on, are notches. Now notches are for helping you put your pieces together properly before you actually go on the sewing machine. They help you pin things because they are reference points. And they look like little triangles. Now you can put them anywhere on your pattern. So I'm just going to put that one sort of middle of the leg. And I also want to put one here which is middle of the body curve as well. So what you have to do is put them on one side, cut your paper pattern out. And I'm going to get my scissors out for this. I'm not using my dressmaking scissors, as you notice, because if you cut paper with your dressmaking scissors, it will blunt them. So I'm cutting along here, past the little knot that I've just popped on, up here, and across the top. Now take note where you put your little notches, because we want to put identical notches on the other side, because this helps you line up your fabric. You can actually, if you colour them heavily, you can actually see them through the paper. That's a little notch there, and this one here is a little notch there. So there we have our notches running across the paper pattern. Now what we need now is our fabric. Well, before I tell you about the fabric, I just want to show you, because I made 2 pairs of leggings. One pair of shorts. I measured up 18 centimetres from the bottom of this pattern, put a line across, and created a little pair of shorts. And those are the little shorts. And these are for my granddaughter, so I put a little tag in there, made by Grandma. And these are the longer leggings, identical to the pattern that we copied from, also made by Grandma. So I'm hoping I can see Charlotte very soon, because we're still in this lockdown. So I'm waiting to hear the news and when I can go and visit her and take her our little presents. So this is our paper pattern. Now your fabric, let's find a piece of fabric. Needs to be a stretchy fabric, and I've cut them all out. So what we just do, you know what I've done? I've cut every pair of leggings out. Never mind, I'll show you what they look like cut out. So what you have to have is, you have to have your fabric folded double, and you would have 2 pieces. So you're going to have to pretend this is a square piece of fabric, and I've pinned on this pattern, and I've then cut the pattern out. Sorry for that, I thought I had a spare piece of fabric I could have laid the pattern on with and pinned it on. But anyway, you end up with 2 pieces, which are your 2 legs and they're ready to go together. So this was another little pink pear that I was making as well. But tonight I'm going to show you how to sew up the pineapple pear. Right, so when you start sewing up your fabric, the first thing you need to do is sew in the hems. Now we allowed 2 centimetres on the bottom of each hem, so we fold the hem over and we stitch the hems in on both legs. And this is a pair that I did earlier, and I did these on my cover stitch machine. If you don't have a cover stitch machine, you really need to invest in a twin needle and use your sewing machine. I'm just going to come round and just show you some samples of what you can do on your own sewing machine to sew jersey fabric if you don't have an overlocker like this. Now to sew your side seams, you can use a zigzag stitch like this one. Now a zigzag stitch will allow you to stretch the fabric, and the stitch length that I've used is 2 and the width of zigzag I've used is 1, and you can see that on a contrasting thread how easy it is to stretch. Now if you have an overcast stitch on your sewing machine, it'll look like this, and it looks like an overlocking stitch, but what you have to do afterwards is trim away the excess fabric, and it is a nice tidy stitch that you can achieve on your sewing machine as well. Now needles you have to use for stretch fabric are called stretch needles. Now these stop the fabric from running and also stop any skipped stitches. And a twin needle is a good investment. It looks like this, but for stretch fabrics, this one that I'm holding here now is good for cotton fabrics. It's a universal needle, and this one, what I've got in my sewing machine at the moment, is for stretchy fabrics. Now I've got these ones, you can get them different widths of the needle, the part of the needle, the space between each needle is on these ones are 4mm. Now when you sew the stretch needle on your sewing machine, the twin needle will look like that, which is very, very similar to how it looks on a cover stitch machine. But what you have to do on the back is trim away the excess fabric, but these twin needles will allow your fabric to stretch. What I'm going to do now is show you how to put the, I've got one where I've got the hem done, and this one has the hem done, so we need both hems in the bottoms of the trouser, and then we fold the trouser over and we're going to be sewing down the leg. I'm just going to close that blind up there because the sun is just coming in and it will cause the camera to glare. Oops, the wrong way. Right, so we've got the hems in the bottom of the trousers. So now we're going to be sewing up each leg, and I'm going to just be doing this on the overlocker. So it's important to get the hems together, and there's our little notches, so it's important to match those little notches that we put on the paper pattern as well. Now when you're on the overlocker, it's different to a sewing machine. I don't like to use pins, because if you go over a pin with your blade, your blade won't cut properly from then on. So I've got these lovely little handy clips. A lady made these for me one Christmas. Made this little bag, and I had a lovely little gift off her one Christmas, and I've used them all the time. customers. Just been the most useful little gift. And it's a little shoe, and it's one of my favourite things as well. So anybody that knows me will know I've got loads of pairs of shoes. So it's good to clip up the leg of the trouser. Now I'm going on the sewing machine. Pop the power on. Now getting these hems to match, bring you into closer view there. Getting these hems to match is the trickiest part, but you try and keep them together with your fingers and lift the toe of your overlocking foot and secure the fabric underneath, and that'll give you a good start. So what I want to do now is just stitch up the legs. But remember, you can do this on your normal sewing machine. You've just got to use a zigzag stitch or an overcasting stitch. So that's our hems are in the bottom and our legs are sewn up like that, and so we now have two legs which are hemmed and sewn up. Now we've got to put one leg inside the other to sew up the body. Now I'm just going to pop that out of the way. Now on these hems you'll see I've got a long chain of thread from the overlocker. Don't cut that chain of thread off. I want you to fold that in on the side. I'll just come round and I'll show you. If you fold that in on the side there and fold over your seam, you can get a needle and thread and just catch stitch along there, and that'll give you a nice tidy finish. And once you've catch stitched up to the hem, then you can cut that thread off. Now the way they do that commercially, they do it exactly the same, but they put a little row of stitches from the sewing machine. Once they've folded the seam across, they put a little row of stitches there to hold everything down, but I like to use a needle and thread so it's invisible and you don't have that line showing. I mean, that's just my preference. You can do it like the shop bought ones if you preferred. So we've got two legs now with hems and legs sewn together. So it looks like that. Now what you need to do for the next bit is turn one of these back through. So you've got one the right way around and you've got one the wrong way around. So then you take the leg that's the right way around and pop it into the leg that's the wrong way around. Bringing the hems together at the bottom. So you're matching up the top of the leg there. So you can see the bit that we've got to do now. So it's actually sewing in this curve. And again, use the clips if you're on the overlocker, pins if you're on your sewing machine. If you're doing these on the sewing machine, I'll just show you a good little way to pin is to put your pins in, like I call it, like a sun ray. So if you're using, and it just allows, and then matching up your notches. So if you're using pins, put them in that direction, and it helps to keep your fabric flat as well when you're sewing, because jersey can sometimes curl. So on our seams there, take these little clips again. So match up the leg seam with the other leg seam, match up the notches, which I've got there. And then match up the top there. Just think of how many pairs of these you could actually make. Such an easy little pattern once you've got one drawn. Right, so I'm going to pop these back into the overlocker. This is out of the way. I like to tidy up as I go if I can. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top of the curve. Now I'm going to come round onto the again, lift the toe of the overlocking foot so just to secure both pieces of fabric are lined up, and sew down the curve of the trouser. Good thing to do as well when you've got two seams meeting, if you fold one seam forward and one seam back, then it's less of a bulky part of the seam. It's easy to go over, especially with the overlocker. Match everything up. Now while we're at the overlocker, we've got everything sewn. Your trousers, or if you were on the sewing machine, would look like that. And then we just take out the other leg, so that then give them a shake, so then they look like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to overlock around the top edge of the waistband. So this is just giving me a finishing stitch around the edge. I mean, you can do this on your sewing machine and you would probably use a zigzag stitch. It just stops the jersey fabric from curling when you come to put the elastic on. It also gives it a nice finish inside as well. And because we've got it all sewn together, we've got the hems done on the trousers as well, on the leggings. So all we've got to do now is put the elastic in. I just want to bring that machine to the side and power it off. Now then, on the commercial pair, you'll notice that the elastic is very flat, and we're going to do this exactly the same. So we take our elastic and we measure it. So you've got one piece there for the front, one piece there for the back, and allow yourself a half an inch to an inch to join your elastic together. So you cut the elastic off at that point, and when you're going to put your elastic together, put it together flat like that, and you need to be on your sewing machine and stitched a few lines in this elastic to keep it secure and nice and flat. Now I've prepared something earlier which you can see, and I've just used a little zigzag stitch. That's given me our circle of elastic that is going to go around the waistband of the leggings. So the first thing to do is to fold the elastic in half and measure mark 2 points. So I'm just going to put a blue mark there and a blue mark there. Now these points are going to match up with the seams. I've got one seam there and one seam there, and it just helps you get the elastic in more evenly. So where we've got our first seam, I'm going to pop our marked elastic on that seam and just fold the elastic over, and when you've got just sufficient to cover the elastic, then just pop a pin in. And there we have our other mark on the elastic. Now where you've got the other seam on the legging, making sure that your elastic isn't folding or rolling in any way, mark that piece of elastic onto the side seam, onto the body seam of the trouser, and fold over your elastic and put another pin in. So we've got our 2 folded pieces folded over, and now we need to put additional pins in the remainder. Now because I'm working with a twin needle, I need my pins on the right side of the work. You can see how nice and flat that's all going in. I'm just going to move that one over to that side. So we're just covering the elastic with the fold of the fabric. And then we're going to go on the normal sewing machine now, which I've got a twin needle in, and we're going to put a twin needle row of stitching the whole way around. On the commercial ones they have used a twin needle as well, all the way around the top. So I'm just going to pop over to the machine and just going to put this elastic in. Normal stitch width 2.5. Obviously I've got a twin needle on here, and I've got 2 bobbins of white thread, which is threaded exactly the same as you would thread a single thread, and each one threaded through with the eye of a separate needle. Take your pins out as you go. You might have to give your fabric a little stretch as you're putting this elastic in. And just make sure you don't get any little puckers or pleats. Reverse stitching to finish off, and that's all done. So that's our twin needle that I was showing you earlier. Gone all the way around the top of the trouser. And it allows it to stretch. Now to add a little special touch into your garments, you can put a little ribbon with a little sentiment on. Now I've got on this one, obviously, handmade by Grandma. So my granddaughter's going to have lots of pairs of leggings by the time I see her. So pin your little label in at this point. Obviously you're working out which is the back and front of your trouser, and obviously it doesn't matter with these ones because back and front are the same. So then you would just stitch that in with your sewing machine, and that's your little legging pattern. So I hope you've enjoyed the little tutorial on how to make them and how simple they can be made. And that's it for now. So thanks for watching. See you again. Bye bye.